So we're going to keep going because this is actually, out of the entire weekend, one of my favorite panels, and I'm so excited that I get to moderate it this time. This is our teen panel where you actually get to hear about these amazing kids that we've been talking about all day. And this is going to be conversational. I'm going to throw out some general questions, let them talk about their experience, and I promise to save time where all of you get to ask questions too. So let's just go down the panel quickly. Give us a quick introduction. Tell us who you are. Tell us how old you are and who's in your family.
Okay. Is this on? Yeah? Okay. My name is Eleanor. I'm Ron's daughter. You just saw him. I'm 18 and I have 2 dads and a twin brother.
Great.
I'm Samantha. I'm 15, and then I live in Miami, and that's my brother, and that's my dad.
Excellent.
I'm Chloe. I'm 14, and I have 2 dads.
I'm Paige, and I'm 15, and I have a twin brother and 2 dads.
Excellent. So and we can answer this in any way, so feel free to jump in if you want. We can go down the line, whenever you feel ready to talk. Tell me, when and how did you first understand surrogacy and how you were born? Like, how was this explained to you?
I guess I'll go first. So I never really had like a set age or one conversation where parents would just like lay the whole thing out for me. It was kind of just like an ongoing conversation. Like as I was like getting older, when I was younger, like I'd ask kind of like some questions like, oh, whose belly did I come from? Or like various questions, and my parents would always answer like age appropriately. And like just as I was growing up, I always kind of knew like I had 2 dads, and there's this nice kind lady like who lives somewhere else who like helped us, who carried us and had gave birth to us, but like she's not my mommy. And then like as I got older, then it was kind of like learning about the like biology behind it and more intricacies, but like it was always like age appropriate. So
good. Anyone else? How were you told?
Oh.
How did you figure it out?
Well, it wasn't like ever one conversation. It was, I remember a specific time that they were like, okay, let me just lay out your entire life story. I remember, I just always remember knowing where I came from. I remember knowing that I had 2 dads. I remember knowing that I came from this person named Carissa, and I didn't have any other questions. But as I got older, obviously I asked more, and they answered.
Good. Anyone else? All pretty much the same?
Yeah.
All right, let me ask you this. What did you tell your friends, and how did they understand it?
Well, as I grew older, more and more, there was always more questions. At the beginning, when I was like really young, it was mostly just, I have 2 dads. Like, what else do you want me to tell you? Like, duh. Like, what do you want from me? But as I grew older, I was like, oh, yeah, I should probably like actually explain it because not everyone has the same story. So I would basically say some people are really nice and want to do nice things for some people who can't do it themselves. And there's this lady who gave her egg, and then there's this other lady who carried me, and now I have 2 loving parents, and I'm really happy. And that's how I explained it. And they were always just like, you don't have a mom? And I was like, no, I don't have a mom. And that was just basically how it went.
Was that hard?
No, it was more hard when I get, like some people just weren't very considerate, and they would say like, oh, so your mom didn't want you. And then I'd be like, stop. But like, I was just like, but I would like, people who weren't considerate sometimes, but those were more when I was younger and they didn't even know that they were being inconsiderate. But now I get questions like, oh my God, that's so cool. Like, oh my God, I wish I had 2 dads. Oh my God, that's so epic. And I'm like, yeah, I know. So it just depends on the age group, but it usually, the majority was good.
What about the rest of you? What was it like to tell your friends?
Yeah, my friends found my dad was like really cute, and like it was like a cool story, and mostly positive.
Yeah, any challenges in there?
No, not really.
Really? Good. What about for you?
For me, it was basically the same. Like my friends, like I told them what I knew at the time, and then yeah, it was pretty good. Like they were accepting.
And when you told your friends and you started meeting their parents, What were their parents like? Did any of their parents talk to you about it, or did any of their parents have problems with it? Was there confusion around other parents?
Not yet. So,
Not yet? Are you prepared for when there is?
I've never, as
Never.
someone who's like slightly older, like that's never happened to me. Like very few parents will straight out ask that. And like when it has happened, I mean, I know that when I was younger, especially because I went to like a really small school, when I was like really young and just joining the school, my parents had like gone to the principal and like kind of said like, and like asked to have like, we had like a Hanukkah party at our house or something like that, and they kind of just like told the other parents in the class, be like our situation basically, and they were like pretty much accepting, but like just to like let them know. But and so like that was kind of the same group until I was like in middle school, so that didn't have to happen again. But like now that I'm in high school, throughout the entire 4 years, like none of my friends' parents have like asked me anything like about my.
Normally my friends will tell their parents, and so like the parents are not going to be like, oh hey, like tell me the story.
Right. But so play dates and everything were fine, and going on play dates, having people over to your house for play dates, all just kind of worked.
There was one time, I mean, it's been 100% amazing. Like I've never had like any traumatic experiences. Like no one's ever been like, you can't come over to my house. But there was one conservative family who had a daughter who was coming to my house. We're super, super, super good friends, like best friends, inseparable. And then I started having to come to her house because she never flat out said it, but it was very much inferred through talking to me and my parents that like she felt like her daughter was getting a bad influence from being in my house. And
how did that sit with you? Like, what did you do about that?
I was really mad, I'm gonna be honest, because I know for a fact that that's not how it works. Just being like, I didn't like it. I was infuriated, but I kept a good head and I was like, okay, it's fine. And I would, it doesn't, just, you're gonna meet people who like don't have the same ideas as you. You just kind of have to deal with it. And you have to be like, okay, they don't have the same ideas as me, but I can still be friends with them. Like nothing ever really bad happened.
Do you have another? You're
No,
nodding your
yeah,
head
the
yes.
same, yeah.
Just to like add something, like I feel that, at least in my experience, I know that I personally just wouldn't naturally become friends with someone who I know would have a strong issue with that. And it's like very unlikely that a friend of mine would have like very strong issues with that, because it's something that like is kind of just like the type of person that I usually like associate with is not someone who's like has very strong like homophobic opinions or any sort of that thing. So it's also kind of like self-selecting in a certain sense, I guess.
Okay. Is there anything that you feel like you're missing or wish you had?
No, I'm happy. I'm like this. Like people are like, oh my god, my mom's so annoying. I'm like, I don't have to deal with that. I feel lucky.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest.
I get those texts from my best friend all the time, like my mom's being so annoying, and I'm just like, well, can't tell you anything.
My friends were really stressed for Mother's Day recently, and I was like, well.
You know, I have a daughter just about your age, and one of the things that my daughter says to her friends all the time is, there are so many things my dad does that your dad doesn't do.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
And so one of the things that people say to my daughter all the time, but what about, you know, those things that you need a mother for? And my daughter's like, what are those things?
Yeah.
Because she has no, right? Because quite frankly, and we have this really vibrant panel of young women here who, you know, you're growing up, things are happening, right? Those are some pretty important conversations. How were your dads through all of that? I mean, you're growing up.
It was perfect. I mean, like, nothing bad ever happened. Like, there wasn't anything traumatic. I have a good support system. I have my best friend. I have my aunts who live super, super close to me and are amazing. I have like a group of amazing women in my life. And so if I ever need it, I also Google. But like,
All the things we didn't have growing up, right?
But like, so no, there hasn't been anything that I've been missing out on. There hasn't been anything. There's nothing that a dad can't do that, there's nothing that a mom can do that a dad can't do, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Well, so it's really interesting. My daughter was on this panel once in New York, and she looked at the audience, and she looked at all of them, and she said, "Listen, men, you may end up with a girl, so get used to all the parts, know them." And all of the guys were like, because I think that's one of the big challenges, I think, especially for young women, right, is being able to have those kinds of conversations. And when we think about growing up and we think about maturing and having only male parents, right, whether they be straight, whether they be gay, but having only male parents, it's really looking at understanding not just what's going on biologically, but what's going on emotionally, and being able to have really hard conversations, right? When you need to have really hard conversations about what it means to grow up, what's it like to go talk to your dad?
It feels,
Yeah, go ahead. No,
it
go.
feels very normal for me. Like, I've just been used to it my whole life. And like, my dad says everything right, and that's just how it works.
Yeah. Yeah. What about for you? What's it like to have your dad be your person?
Well, it's pretty simple. Like, it's not like we know anything different. Like, we always go to our dads. Like, it's nothing new.
Yeah.
Conversations are perfect. Like, there's nothing,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it's not, I don't think the main issue is like whether it's like a mom or a dad.
Mhm.
It's like who that person is. Like, that's how the conversation's gonna go. So like, it's like the type of parent, like the type of person, the type of relationship you have. It's not necessarily like your gender would dictate like if you're gonna be if you're gonna have a close relationship, or if you're gonna like say all the right things or know how to like deal with everything. It's more about like your personality and like how you approach things.
So Eleanor, you say something really important, and I'd actually like to hear from all of you. Tell these guys what it takes to be a really good parent.
Listen. Like, always, like, you know, my parents are amazing. Like, I couldn't imagine better parents. They listen to everything that I have to go through, even when stupid conversations, but I think they're important. Later I realize they're not, but they listen to everything. They're always considerate. I mean, having a teenager is hard, because like mood swings, and like it's hard, because we're really annoying.
Yeah.
Beautifully annoying. Lovingly annoying.
Lovingly annoying. And it's hard. It's really hard. But like, you have to listen. You have to understand that you're like how it was like when you were a teenager, because give me like the same thing. Like, you just know that it's hard. Middle school is hard. High school is hard. Especially the people. The people usually suck. But like, you just got to go through it, and you have to listen. And like, as long as you're listening, and as long as you just like are compassionate, and as long as you're just always there for your kid and what they want to do and support them, then I don't think you can be bad parents.
Okay.
I would like to add that like being truthful and very open, and like setting that expectation, well, not necessarily an expectation, but like the fact that like they're always there for you for whatever you need. Like, my parents were always very upfront. They're always like, you can come to us with like anything. And they always like reassured me of that. And like, so if I ever felt like I had some like, I never felt like I had to keep secrets from them. And that was really important. And also like being truthful and being very open, never saying like, oh, you're too young to hear that, or like, oh, like you don't need to know these things. Like, they were always like very open and answered like everything I want, especially in regards to like how I came into the world and like just anything else in life. So I think that's really, at least for me, very important.
Great. What about for you?
Very supportive, very like, just make sure you're always there, and like very understanding of all their decisions, even if you don't always agree with them. And just like,
What makes for a good parent? What?
Basically the same thing that they all said, like definitely listening and trying to understand as like much as you can.
yeah.
So we're going to come down the other way this time. Let me start with you. What do you think you taught your parents? What did they learn by having you as a child?
I'm not really sure. Like, I hope good things.
It's a hard question, right?
Yeah.
How do you think they've changed over the years by parenting you?
I can answer that. My dad's, well, briefly, for a very short period of time, learned how to braid hair and paint nails until I learned to do it myself.
Yeah.
Hair is a force of nature. That's what I've learned,
Hey,
right?
he taught me how to braid like with lanyards tied to a drawer in our house, and he's like, put this in the middle, and I put this in the middle, and then he promptly forgot, and then I figured it out like by myself and watching like YouTube, and then now I'm like good at braiding hair, and he's just like, I couldn't do that.
I think they learned I think they didn't learn anything. I think they more like I think they more like understand more things now. Like they understand what it's like. They just understand what it's like to have like to be in my situation because I tell them everything. So I think they just like understand what it's like to be a girl, a teenager in like the 21st century. So I think that's what they learn.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. Like they don't understand all of it, believe me. Understanding of it, and I think that's like what they did.
So let me build on that. What's it like to be a girl in the 21st century? Because you're right, we don't get it, right? We have 4 young women here. We obviously have a very different life experience. What's it like to be a girl today?
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard. I mean, you have now that social media is a thing, which you always have you're comparing yourself to everyone's best parts of themselves, because the only part that you post on social media is the best parts usually. So you're comparing yourself to all of their best parts, and that's what you expect everything to be like, and it's not. It's not. And then you have all the people. I'm different. Like I'm not like the exact same as like everyone else, and like which is like fun, but like you can feel isolated, and like it's hard to be a girl in the 21st century. Yeah. It is, but like. And like having good parents and like good friends are like the only reason I've like survived being a girl in the 21st century.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. What's it like to be a girl?
I think for all you guys, you just need to like remember to teach your daughters that social media, there's more behind it. It's like, it's not what you see always. And so you just need to remember that it's not always real life. And sometimes it's photoshopped and it's not like everyone's version of like real life.
What's it like to be a girl in the 21st century?
Basically what they said, like it's very evolved around social media and like the image you put out of yourself.
And what's it like to like concern yourself with that image? Like how much does that take out of you? And how as parents, how can we help you with that?
Don't post embarrassing pictures of us on Facebook.
Too late.
No, but like for real, if you guys are the type to share everything on Facebook, like know that like eventually when your kids do get social media, and if you ever do, I mean my parents personally don't, I'm thankful for that, ever friend my friends on Facebook, and I'm glad they don't. I will repeat that. They like get access to like all these photos that like I really would never share myself. So yeah, just like know that like it never gets deleted, erased, so they can find those pictures. So like be careful, because it might like come back to like, oh, that one baby photo of you. Like your friend will like scroll back on your parents' like Facebook and be like, wow, that's what you look like, or yeah.
Thankfully, my dad got tired of getting all the alerts, so Facebook went down the drain. But
all right. So. Some of you have siblings, right? What was it like to have a sibling? And if you don't have a sibling, what was that like? Did you need to have a sibling? Was having a sibling important to you?
so I have 2 brothers. One's sitting right there, and my other brother's 1. So I'm very happy with both of them, although they can both be very annoying.
It's good to be the oldest, right?
Yeah, it is. Very bossy, but like, it's amazing, and I'm really, really thankful for my brothers. But you know, sometimes I wish that he would.
What's it like to have a twin?
I mean, what's it like to not have a twin? I've only experienced that for like 9 minutes, and then I was like, sibling.
Again, the oldest.
Correct, yeah. I like being older because I'm much, much shorter because I have a brother. They get tall. But being older is nice. At least I have one thing over him.
Good. Now you have a twin brother, right?
Yeah, I like having a twin because like you kind of have someone to kind of go through similar things as you at the same time, and like you just have like a partner
Right.
in most things.
And you don't have a sibling.
No.
What's it like to be an only child?
I love it.
Shares nothing.
Yeah. All my friends all of my friends have siblings. Like almost every single one of them. And like they're always like, oh, my brother, he just like stole my fish, or like he just like did this or did that. That's a real life story. But like I'm so happy I don't have a sibling. I'm too bossy. I'm too spoiled to have a sibling. But like at least I admit it. You know?
Excellent.
So, all of these guys, as you know, are here to learn about gestational surrogacy, and they're all thinking about what their path to parenthood is. These are big decisions. When you think about your parents and what they went through, was there anything that you wished your parents had known earlier, or had known that they had to learn later?
I think they did a really good job. I think they, like, even if you don't know, like, even if you feel unprepared, like, you're probably gonna be prepared. Because as soon, like, you just have to have, like, emotions. Because, like, if they're sad, you just console them. If they're crying, you need to just be like, oh, I'm sorry. But, like, the one thing I would say, like, you need to learn is if you have a kid, especially a girl, like, know about the mood swings before they happen. Because I feel so bad for my parents.
I'll tell you, boys have mood swings, too.
Okay,
Boys
well,
have
I
big
don't
mood
know,
swings.
but.
Right? Yeah. No, but I think that's an important thing, right?
Like, know that not all the time is going to be okay. There's always going to be ups and downs. So like, don't think you're a bad parent because your kid's crying, because that happens to everyone. And like, you could just be like, your kid could be sad, and like, you don't put that on yourself. Like, you shouldn't put that on yourself, because if you put it on yourself, then like, you can't, because everyone's going to feel sad every once in a while, and it's going to be a good parent if you help them through it. That's how you know if you're a good parent. You're not going to be a good parent. You don't know if you're a bad parent because they're crying. You know you're a good parent because you help them.
One of the things that I talk about an awful lot is that your child comes fully wired. From the moment they take their first breath, they just are who they are. Everything that's going to unfold in that child is already there, hard baked in. And when I first became a parent, I thought it was my job to turn this lump of raw clay into this really amazing human being. And what I learned over the course of my parenting is that wasn't the job of parenting at all. My job of parenting was simply to unpack who that kid was and help them make sense of it. And I think that one of the things we're hearing from these really smart young ladies is really that's what they're saying. That their parents did nothing but unpack them because they were already formed, right? You were already complete. And just to help you make sense of who you are, not try to make you into somebody. And that's a hard transition to make as parents, because we put that responsibility on ourselves. As parents, it's really, really hard not to step into their lives. And try to control them and try to make them into somebody. So ladies, when your parents step into your lives and try to make you into somebody, how do you handle it? How do you set boundaries with your parents and go, Dad, time to back off?
I actually just pretty much just say that. I'm kind of just like, okay, we're done with this conversation now.
Okay.
I feel like my parents have been pretty good about like not like kind of letting me volunteer information. Like sometimes my dad will kind of like I can tell very obviously when he's doing it, like will set like leading questions, like conversations where he like asks general questions and starts like inch towards a certain topic that like that I know he's going to, and like I'll just like I'll offer what I want to, but he never like outright really like presses any information that I don't want to give him. Not that I'm like secretive or anything, just but like I think they're pretty good at that on their own.
But a woman's got to have her mystery, right? What about the two of you? Do you ever have to set boundaries with your parents?
Not really. Like my dads have been really good about that, like not intruding into like my personal life too much. That's
Okay.
My parent, like if I ever feel like I need a boundary set, which mostly like not emotionally, because like I can tell them anything and I know I can because I trust them 150% with anything. But sometimes they're like, go do this, go do this, go do this. I'm like, no, that's not who I am. Let me just not play sports. I'm not a sports person. They're like, go play tennis, go do soccer. I'm like, no. And then once I set the boundary, then but like, that was mostly when I was younger because they're trying to like make me a full rounded human being. But after like they realize like what I want to do and I say, this is what I want to do, they're 100% supportive and they like push that and they're like, yes, let's be who you are, and I love that. So I don't really have to set that many boundaries. When I say no, like it means no.
On the contrary, when I wanted to continue to do sports, that my parents were like, oh, should you do this, should you not? And like I kind of like took my own initiative and I was like, I want to do this, like here's what I learned and here's like how I can do it. I was a little older than like, you know, but I could like do that on my own. I was like, I want to do this, and they were like, oh, I'm not so sure, and then I convinced them, and then like since then they were very supportive of like all of that because they were like, so it was more of, it's not really a boundary, but rather just like the trust in me to like know what I want to do and like be able to kind of like take that step like to somewhere they're not completely comfortable with at first, and then like once it starts to work out, and then like I really appreciated that trust that they had in me to like kind of support me through that, and then like it's all worked out pretty good. If I may say so myself, but yeah, so.
For me, I literally did every single sport in the book. I quit everything the week after, started things the month after. I mean, I went from soccer to like acrobatics to martial arts, so he was supportive the whole way through, even
Good.
though lots of dollars were lost in equipment, but.
Excellent. So, you know, being children of surrogacy, how do you think that this has either been an advantage or a disadvantage for you?
Well, for me, it's been like totally an advantage. Like I'm the only person that I know who can say like, hey, I have these pictures of me like as an embryo. Like that's the coolest thing. I don't know. I think that's pretty cool. But also like on a more serious note, like having like, especially who my parents are today, not only has it brought like a lot of awareness into my life of just like different forms of families and different types of love and different types of like just like having kids, obviously, but like having a lot of opportunities like come to conferences like these and speak, and like it's had a lot of impact on my life, and it's been very positive for me, especially just like being able to educate others. It's like something that like brings me a lot of joy and like is meaningful to me, so I've been really thankful for that.
Great.
Advantages being like I get more opportunities like this to do amazing things that I love. And then disadvantage would be like the very few times I've experienced bullying, like a little bit, and I know from more people it's been more and they've gotten a little bit more. I thankfully have not gotten very much. But advantages, just like having a loving family and like going and having so many opportunities like this to do like great things.
Yeah. What about for you? Advantages and disadvantages?
Well, it definitely broadens your aspect of like love and like who people are, and it kind of just like makes you kind of a better person than like some people who aren't accepting. Like you know how it is, so you can kind of like help people understand more.
Because I think with surrogacy, the main thing is like you're wanted more than anything else in this world, and your parents have tried. I mean, for me, for 10 years. So it's very like, it's more love than you sometimes see in other families, so yeah. It's very important.
You know, I know these folks have a lot of questions for you and they want to talk to you, but before we open up for questions, if we could just literally go right down the line for each of you, what is your best advice for everyone sitting in this audience? What is your best piece of wisdom for them?
I mean, I think I kind of said it before about like being open and very like, well, not only supportive, but just like kind of very truthful about everything with your child, and just kind of like they will ask questions a lot and at like any time. Like you got to be prepared, but just kind of like take them in stride and kind of like give them appropriate answers, but like never really conceal anything, because I think that one thing that could cause like any sort of negative emotions later on is if either like kind of just any sort of cover up or like mistruths about like how they came into the world, or like how you felt about it, or like who's who, and anything like that could cause like bumps later on. And if you kind of just are very upfront and like, while age appropriate, obviously you're not gonna like tell your 2-year-old about like, you know, anyway. So it's kind of, yeah, so just like be very like truthful about everything and very open, and like that way your child would have like a very clear understanding from like the start, and never be like, oh, I thought like I had a mom who like gave me up for adoption. Like they would never think that, and never have like any sort of regrets, or even just like feeling that they were ever misled. I think that's really important.
You can't expect a perfect family because nothing's perfect. And you need to keep it real always, and be open with them, and very positive and very supportive through everything, and understanding, definitely.
Okay, like listen to them through everything. Don't, like, you can't conceal the hate in the world, because there is a lot of hate, but like if you open them up to the world, though you'll show them all the hate and the gross and the ugly, you'll also show them how amazing life can be, and like how beautiful it is, and how what kind of a family you have is such a blessing to have. So like show them the world, and like open it up to them, and also listen to everything they want to say.
Great.
Definitely be open, and you have to support them through like everything they want to do, even if you might not like it, but you just have to try.
Yeah. Good. I think that's all really good, important wisdom to share. Are you ready to answer some questions? So folks, floor is for you. Yes, what would you like to ask?
I have the question of...
Microphone is coming.
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So my question is for for those of you that may be dating or at that phase in life, how do you deal with, or how have you adjusted to having to maybe explain it to your significant other, your boyfriend or whoever, about your uniqueness and the beautifulness that you were creating, and that the fact that you have 2 parents?
Well, me personally, I have a girlfriend, and they're like so. I mean, it was never an issue. Like, she knew before we were dating, and like never had an issue with it. Like, if they had an issue with it, we would not be together. But it was kind of just. It was never really a significant thing. I think she even thought it was cool. Yeah, there was never really an issue, and so it was kind of just a positive thing.
Everyone knows at my school that I have 2 parents
Yeah.
that love me, and they know that I have 2 gay parents. So I don't think there's never going to be an issue. There's never going to be someone be like, oh, I didn't know that, because everyone knows that at my school.
In high school, right, as you go through your school, but that may change, you know, when you start dating people outside of your school systems, right? Because then you'll have to tell people your story again, right?
It's the same as like telling your friend, or you just say the story, and if they don't approve, then it's,
Bye.
yeah.
Bye. Check you later. Excellent. Any other questions? Yes.
You guys deliver by surrogate mother. So when you're in the school, your classmate will be bullying you. You have this bad scenario.
I've never like been outright bullied like by anybody. Like thankfully, but never really.
Yeah, never.
The world's getting more open.
Yeah, for sure.
No one cares as much anymore. And if you do get bullied, it's barely by anyone, and everyone else will have your back.
Yeah.
And as my dad told me since I was like super young, that families are changing, and there's always families with 1 mom and 1 dad, or 2 moms and 2 dads, or 1 mom and 1 dad. So.
Or
it's
being
just,
raised by grandparents, or
aunts,
family members,
or
or foster parents, right?
So it's very important to just keep an open mind always, and if you yourself have to keep like an open mind and look at other families the same as you would want them to look at your family. So.
Yeah.
Are you guys, do you ever have thoughts and curiosity about your egg donor parent that helped create you guys?
Yeah, so I'm going to actually add to this question. First of all, what do you know about your egg donor? And what is your understanding of your egg donor?
Well, for me, my egg donor was one of my dad's sisters, so my aunt, and the sperm donor is my other dad. So like I'm biologically related to both of my dads. So yes, I know my egg donor, she's my aunt, but like we have the same relationship, just like as an aunt, she's not like my mom or anything like that, even though biologically like she like is. But and like her kids, like my cousins, they're like biologically my half siblings, but they're not like, they're kind of just cousins. And like that being said, like I'm super duper thankful for her and everything that like she's done, and like, but like we've kind of like set that as like she's still my aunt and like I'm still like her niece, I guess. And then it was just like a really great way for like me to have like a relationship biologically with both sides of my family.
And everybody knows, and everybody's cool with it. What do your cousins make out of that?
I mean, I've never had like conversation with them about it, actually, but we kind of just treat each other as cousins. Like we've never ever like had a special relationship. I think it also because like it's important to know that like since we live in the States and like the aunt who donated my eggs lives in Canada, and like that entire side of the family lives in Canada, so they're all like kind of equally far from us. So it's not like they live next door and like the rest of my family lives like far away. So like we have kind of the same relationship as the rest of the family. So that was never like an issue of like we had like a preference for them or anything like that. It was kind of just like we're cousins and like that's cool, and yeah.
Okay. What about your egg donor?
So my egg donor is completely anonymous, and I have the information that I was given from my dad, like eye color and height. And then I did a 23andMe because I just was wondering
Welcome to 2019.
like where I was from and that kind of stuff. But other than that, I'm not too incredibly curious or anything.
Okay.
So.
I don't know my egg donor, but I did a 23andMe because I was just curious of where I was like from, and I actually found my half sisters that my egg donor also gave eggs to, so I like got to like understand that they're actually redheads, so that's cool. But like I got to see them and just talk to them for like I don't know 0.5 seconds. Like I didn't even talk to them. I actually was able to find my egg donor. I don't want to meet her. I think she's an amazing woman for doing what she did. I am so grateful. I don't really feel like meeting her because if she wanted me to be in her life, she would have. And I'm just so happy that she did what she did, that I don't want to hinder her life.
And what about for you?
I know who my egg donor is, and my dad has given me opportunities like if I wanted to meet her or talk to her, but I haven't wanted to, or I'm not that curious about it.
Okay. You know, it's interesting. My daughter got the whole profile on her egg donor. And she was really curious about her. My daughter actually sounds very much like all of you. She's actually not all that interested. She's actually more interested, and she did a 23andMe. I am telling you, it's what's going to happen, right? Because she wanted to know things like, am I Irish? Am I Scottish?
Yeah,
what is my origin? Like, it was all about identity.
Yeah.
We talked about egg donor. Let's talk about your surrogate. Who is your surrogate, and what's your relationship with her, and what's all of that look like?
Personally, for me and my brother, we like our surrogate was kind of just like we don't really have like an ongoing relationship with her. Like we know who she is, and like we always know that if we wanted to like kind of reach out to her, like ever meet up with her, like that'd be fine. Like we could totally do that. But like my brother and I, personally, and like she's never really like we've both like mutually kind of been like okay. Like we don't really like keep in touch like that much. Like I think my dad is still Facebook friends with her, and like we send holiday cards, but like it's not like we ever meet up or like have like a really close relationship with her.
So you and your brother have a similar relationship. If your brother wanted to have a different relationship with her, would that be okay for you?
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
I
Like
think
you don't.
that's like his.
But you can really separate that. Like his relationship and what he wants is different than what you want, and that would be okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure like if he went to like go meet her, like I'd probably go. Like, cause why not? It'd be I feel like it'd be more weird if I didn't go and only he went, cause like that sent like a message to her. But I don't. expect that to happen.
Okay.
Like at least without him like telling me.
Okay. And what about for you?
So my egg donor is the same as my brother, but not my little brother. And
The
my
egg donor or the surrogate?
The egg donor, and my
Okay.
surrogate is different from all my siblings.
So 3 different surrogates?
Yes.
Okay.
So mine, my dad sent her a letter after I was born, and that was pretty much it. I have no interest. I mean, like, I'm sure she's an amazing lady for doing what she is. My brother is same. And then my little brothers, we keep very close contact with her. She's an amazing, amazing lady. She has 2 kids, and we see her like every now and then, and she's very nice, so.
Okay.
It's like a family friend. I've never like actually met her. I don't like want to reach out to her. They're Facebook friends.
Okay.
That's all I can say about her.
It's basically the same as everyone else here, but like I know who she is, but I don't find the need to want to reach out to her.
Okay. So that really tells you guys that there's this really broad spectrum of what those relationships are. One of the things that I told the audience earlier is that my daughter's gestational care is a big part of our family. We go on family vacations with her. She comes for Thanksgiving sometimes. And so there's a spectrum of what those experiences are, and it doesn't have to be any one thing, right? You may veer more towards the experience that I have. You may veer more towards what these young ladies have, and it's all good. It depends on what works for your family, right? Right.
Yeah.
Excellent.
It's also important to like, at least I think from like our perspective, is that like just knowing that like if you did want to potentially meet her, as long as like before everything, like before she like starts to carry the baby, like you guys have worked out that like what you kind of expect to happen, and like if that's okay if it changes, and like just if like your future child and like wants to meet your surrogate but like hasn't had a previous relationship with her, like having the knowledge, like for me, that I could, if I ever wanted to or ever needed to, I don't know why I'd need to, but like if I ever needed to, like I could like see her and like she'd be open to that, but like just having the opportunity is nice because it's like less, it's not like you're hiding something, it's like it's there if you want it but you don't have to take it, and that's like really nice.
As parents, I would just remember to always keep an open mind and remember that like your child might become curious and might want to find out more. And so just keep the records handy and pictures and everything, just so in case they ever want to, it's available.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the other things I'll tell you is that if you lose contact, go back to your agency because they should be able to find her, okay? I saw a question over here a minute ago. Was there a question over here?
Same question.
The same question. Any other questions? Yes.
Would being children of surrogacy, oh, thank you. Being children of surrogacy, would any of you ever consider when you get older to become gestational carriers on your own?
I mean, I think we're a little young.
Yeah. There you go.
There are screening requirements.
I mean, I wouldn't like rule it out if like my health and like life circumstances like allowed for that. I would like totally consider that, but like I can't like tell you that definitely at this moment.
Maybe. Maybe if I found at a point in my life where I felt like my job would allow it, and my family, if I had some, would allow it, and like all their point points are, sure, why not?
She gets the screening process, right? Good. Other questions? What else do you need to know?
When you go to a marriage age, did you want to become a lesbian couple?
Me?
I think everyone, I don't know.
Wait, generally?
Well, the question, let me see if I can reframe this question, is, part of this is you're saying you're in a relationship with a woman. So going forward, do you see it just as another relationship? And if you decided to get married, then it would be building a family, much like what your parents did.
I mean, I'm not thinking about
No,
that
but
right now. I mean, like in the future, like yeah, I'd be open.
Let's
to,
graduate high school first, right?
Like, 2 more weeks.
Yeah,
No
2 more
way.
weeks.
2.5.
Oh my gosh, congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. But I mean, like I'm totally not like on that mindset right now, but like I guess, yeah.
Okay, great. Yes. Microphone coming.
Want to detail that? We've had a great representation from you four ladies up there, but I have a question of your brothers. Have they had any different experience in growing up and dealing with the pressures of having two dads and being a son of that? Have you guys noticed any of that? Any differences, major differences than what you guys are reporting?
My twin brother, I mean, nothing is, like, it's been pretty similar to me in the sense that, like, it's never been, like, outright bullying or anything. I do know that, like, teen boys are, like, prone to, like, joking around and using gay as, like, an insult. And one time during, like, camp, like, they were, I don't know how old they were, but, like, it was, his friend group were kind of, like, using it as, an insult or like just joking around with it, and he wasn't really okay with that. It wasn't necessarily calling him gay, I don't think, but just using that as an insult, and he kind of like handled it really well and brought it to their counselor, and they kind of had like a group discussion about it. But other than that, I think that he's mostly had like pretty good experiences like being a guy and also having two dads.
I think same with my brother, because my 1-year-old brother can't really speak for himself yet. But I think he has had like one incident where like someone was calling him like a name and saying that because he didn't have a mom, he was like gay, and he was not okay with it, but he handled it appropriately like her brother did.
Can we ask you a question?
Yeah.
So, right here, so what's it like being a boy and growing up as a child of surrogacy with just a dad? What's it been like?
I think it's okay. Like, I haven't had too many problems.
Okay.
I think it's okay. Like, I haven't had too many problems with people like telling me, like, oh, you're so weird, you don't have a mom. But it's like, I think it's okay growing up with only a dad and not a mom, because a dad's the same thing as a mom. They can handle all the problems the same way.
Good. And what about your brother? You have a twin.
Well, my brother has had a harder time than me with like people understanding his situation and kind of accepting it. I just think it's because like teen boys are like not as open or like understanding, and they're less mature, so they don't really get it as much. But yeah, he has had a harder time.
You know what's really interesting, having, from the parents' perspective, having raised a boy and a girl, and I acknowledge that it must be really hard to grow up in my house with a gay sex therapist as a father. Honestly, can you imagine? Can you imagine? Right? I'm like, let's talk about your uterus over dinner. It's really hard, right? You know, I actually think that I had a harder time than he did, because he is, my daughter is stereotypically female, and pink and glitter and butterflies, and my son is stereotypically male, and he is a premier athlete, was being recruited by professional soccer. Like, he is as bro-y as they come. Like, I don't know how I ended up with the bro-y kid, but I did, right? And I think that for me, he did well. I mean, he was popular, he went through school, nobody cared. You know, he did sports, he dated girls, all the girls were fine with it. You know, he's 6 feet tall, he's gorgeous. You know, he's totally well-centered. I was the one who was struggling, because what it did is it really challenged me to go back and rethink any bias that I had about straight men. And it really forced me to think about my own definitions of masculinity and my own definitions of toxic masculinity and how I was going to deal with those as a parent. And the truth is he did fine. I was the one that had a shift. And that goes back to that statement I made earlier about our job as parents is to unpack who they are and not try to make them into somebody. And what I realized is in the unpacking of my son, I had to go back and do some own unpacking of myself first. He actually did fine. So. Other questions? Any other questions? Then I think these young ladies deserve a really warm round of applause. Thank you so much.